What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the UFC show presented by, of course, Frontier Sports. I'm Draftcheat. We've got Titletown, we've got Keg, and we are talking UFC Fight Night 203. Normally, I only do these shows for pay-per-views, but we're going to start doing them anytime UFC's got a card, and they certainly do tomorrow. So we're going to break it all down. Titletown, how's it going, man?
Yeah, it's going well. People have loved all these shows. We've had people asking for months, more video content. Let's do a video content every week. And obviously, I mean, we play all the sports. We grind MLB, NBA, NFL. Some people in the industry, they just do the one sport, MMA. But I enjoy doing these a lot. The videos, the playbook's always going to be up. Sometimes maybe it'll be a little shorter now since you always have the video to look back on. You can put on 1.5x speed for the listeners if you're watching from behind, because Mangone's not on the show, and you guys probably should be able to understand all of us too if you're on a time crunch. But excited to talk some fights. Last week went well. My boy, Sweet Dreams, Jamal Hill got the job done. Onama got the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Can't say I was going to those two. Jim Miller got the job done for you. It was a pretty fun card for sure. And yeah, this card doesn't look great top to bottom. That's how some of these UFC fight nights go. We have a pay-per-view next week, a fun one, but there's some good fights in here I'm excited to break down.
Yeah, a little bit of a slow start to the card, I think, with the first couple of fights. But once you get to the main card, the last 4 or 5 fights, some pretty good ones there that I'm looking forward to seeing. So we'll talk DFS, of course, Title, the expert there, and the betting expert, Keg. We'll kind of break down the fights from a betting angle. Keg, how's it going, man?
What's going on, bud? It's going good. Wasn't here with you guys last week, but the only UFC play we had on the sheet got it done. Jamal Hill KO, which looked devastating and awesome. So that was cool. It's a fugly card, but like Title said, usually the card before a pay-per-view, it's slim pickings. So can't complain.
Yeah, we'll take fights over no fights. I'll say that much. So I'm excited for it, and we'll get right into it. Before we do, just a reminder: hit the like, hit the subscribe, especially that subscribe button. That'll get you all of our content, much of it which comes free of charge here, obviously on YouTube, whatever sport it is, whether it's UFC, as we said, we're going to do this almost every week now. NBA, NFL's gone now. Hopefully, baseball in a month if they can work out the lockout deal there, but all that good stuff. So again, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and you can get all of our content here for free on YouTube. With that, let's jump into this card. 11 fights on the card. I don't think they've done weigh-ins yet, right? Title, they do those.
They have. There's one weight miss. Zong, whichever way. 160 pounds he weighed in at. I think they're still going to fight. I haven't heard anything that's going to be scrapped against Mendez.
Yeah,
okay.
So 4 pounds over, but they'll fight.
Yep, so it's confirmed that they'll fight. Yeah, that's the only weight miss that I saw.
Cool. So we should have the full 11 fights. Hopefully they all end up going down, and yeah, we'll see what happens. First fight on the card: Carlos Hernandez and Victor Altamirano. Pretty close in terms of the odds here. Hernandez is a little bit of a favorite, minus 140 or so. We'll throw it right to you, Title. These guys, a little bit inexperienced. Altamirano 10-1, Hernandez 7-1. They both have had one fight in the UFC. It went the distance for both of them, both coming off a win. So curious to hear what you think, what to expect from these fighters. 125 pounds, so these guys are light guys. Oftentimes we know that these types of fights oftentimes go to decision. This one is favored to go to decision, minus 160 or so to go the distance. So Title, yeah, break this one down for us.
Yeah, so this is another one of those, like the UFC shows it's a UFC fight, but it's Dana White Contender Series for both of them. So it's going to be their official UFC debut. Both coming off, split wins in Contender Series. 31 years old for Altamirano. I don't love seeing 31-year-olds make their UFC debut. Yep. But yeah, it is what it is that we're seeing that more and more often nowadays. 28 years old for Carlos Hernandez. I mean, this should be a fun scrap. I mean, I like watching the 125ers, 135ers because they're so quick. They can bang on the feet. And both these guys do have finishing power on the feet. I think it's going to be very competitive. It's worth noting that this line opened with Altamirano as a minus 150 favorite and Hernandez is a plus 130 dog. And the line is pretty much just flipped with Hernandez now sitting at minus 145. And I think a lot of that has to do with on the feet, it's a coin flip fight, I think. I think both guys can have a lot of success. Both guys can strike. But the difference is Carlos Hernandez has a wrestling background and has shown to mix in his takedowns, whereas Altamirano doesn't really do that. He had 4 takedowns his last fight on Contender Series, but that's not really what he does. And then he just has awful takedown defense, does Altamirano. So I think Hernandez can have success with the takedowns. And yeah, like I don't see Altamirano stuffing him. There's nothing that I've seen to show he has good takedown defense. So if it's going to be a coin flip fight on the feet, which I expect it will, I think both guys have good exchanges. It should be fun on there. But the guy that mixes in the takedowns is probably going to be winning the rounds. They have more upside for DFS. So I lean Carlos Hernandez. I think the line's right. 8,200, 8,000. This fight's plus 110 to end inside the distance, which is pretty much a coin flip. I wouldn't be surprised to see a finish. I mean, both these guys can throw on the feet. They can bang. Either guy can get the finish on the feet. So I like this fight. There's 3 fights in the mid-tier we're going to get to. I like all 3 fights in the mid-tier. And I think this fight probably gets the most overlooked in this range. And it's a really good fight to target. 125, I think they put a good pace on the feet. I'm going to pick Carlos Hernandez just because he has that extra path to victory, I think. But I'm not saying I'm not going to have any Altamirano in 20 entry max. Should be a good scrap to kick off the card.
Yeah, sometimes the lighter fighters, they're less likely to get the finish, but they do have higher output, right? In terms of volume, you can rack up points from a fantasy perspective that way. So yeah, it's interesting because if you just look at their UFC fight, if you look at, the stats, like you said, 4 takedowns for Altamirano, Carlos Hernandez didn't attempt one, but it's interesting that you think Hernandez is actually the better wrestler and the more likely fighter to get this one to the mat. So that's why you got to go grind the regional tape, right? Titled putting in the overtime. So interesting stuff there. Keg, do you have thoughts on this fight from a betting angle?
Yeah, I mean, the only loss that Altamirano has as a pro is against a very underrated Jared Brooks. So I don't really hold that against the kid. I think he's an okay fighter. He had a solid win against Lloyd McKinney over at LFA, where he finished McKinney with a rear naked choke. But for someone that had more finishes early on in his career, he has struggled to secure finishes in his last 3 fights. But all in all, I think he's a solid striker, okay submissions, but his takedown defense is weak. And you can get Altamirano to the mat if it's your sole focus. And I pretty much agree with everything that Title said about Carlos Hernandez. I think he has a solid striking game, but he's definitely above average in his takedowns, and he appears to have a gas tank for days. So I agree from a betting perspective. It's really hard to get on Hernandez now because the line has flipped. But if you're asking me, who do I think wins the fight? I think Carlos Hernandez wins the fight. So from a betting perspective, I would hope that he loses. If you want to get involved, you can't bet him at -145. So I would hope he loses the first round, and you can get him live going into round 2 at probably a plus price, closer to what this line opened at. But other than that, you've lost way too much more value. So it's a pass pregame.
Yeah, sounds good. And yeah, you do the live betting show. That's a special package, right, on Run for Your Sports. Will you be live for this event for the subscribers?
Yeah, we'll be live tomorrow for the fights and for the Xfinity Series race. Yep.
Awesome. So check that out with Keg. Really, really good product if you're interested in live betting. Keg, an expert at that, no doubt about it. Let's move on to the next fight. You don't see many 6-4 fighters in the UFC, but we do have one here. Michael Gilmore, a big underdog to Ramiz Brahmaj, who I don't really think is that great of a fighter himself. He's 9-4, so we got some lackluster records on the card. But Brahmaj coming in -360 to -400, right around there, depending on where you look, of course. Both these guys coming off losses again, low volume. They are a little bit bigger, 170 welterweights. Keg, we'll start with you on this one. Do you see anything from the betting perspective? I assume you're probably not going to want to lay that -350 or 400. Doesn't really seem like your style, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. So talk about it from a betting perspective here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're pretty much nailed everything. The last time that we saw Michael Gilmore I believe it was he was a piece of meat getting thrown to Petrosyan from the most recent season of The Ultimate Fighter, right? And the last time we saw Brahmaj, he was taking an L against Court McGee 5 weeks ago, right? So, Gilmore looked okay in that second round versus Petrosyan, but he lost handily. And I do think that this is Brahmaj's fight to lose. But, neither fighter has a very good gas tank. And Brahmaj just fought 5 weeks ago. But I assume, he kept in his version of least a fight shape. At the end of the day, though, I do think Brahmaj has way slicker hands. He throws more power. And if he wants to take Gilmore down to the ground, he should be able to. But I worry about his cardio, which is why I'm not betting anything from this fight, to be fair. I don't see an angle. Both these guys are pretty bad these days.
Yeah, when you look at Title, we look at like Brahmaj's stats in the UFC, 3 fights, a couple takedowns, averaging 1.5 takedowns per 15 minutes, which isn't all that impressive. Getting outstruck almost 2-1 over those 3 fights. Absorbing 4.4 strikes per minute, landing just 2.6. So that's not great. Pretty rare to see a fighter in the UFC as big of a favorite as Brahmaj is with stats that he has. You just don't often see that Title. So 9,100 for Brahmaj. He is minus 150 or so to finish this fight inside the distance. I assume that will make him a popular selection in DFS. But curious your thoughts, because low volume guy who's not the greatest wrestler in the world, he's going to need an early finish, I think, to end up on the optimal at that price point. So curious to hear your thoughts on this one, Title.
Well, man, I came in with high hopes for Brahmaj when he did come in the UFC. I mean, he comes in with 8 submissions. He was 8-2, 8 submission wins. All of those submissions are in the first round except 1. This guy's grappling is really slick. His wrestling is pretty good too. The big thing is, though, that I didn't really realize, and I had a big bet on Brahmaj's last fight against Court McGee. It was absolutely brutal to watch because you knew you were drawing pretty much dead pretty early in that fight because he just couldn't stop the takedowns, and old man did what the old man does. But, if I'm betting a big against Court McGee with Brahmaj, how do I jump off against a 6-4 Michael Gilmore who shouldn't even be in the UFC? That Petrosyan fight, yeah, he was just thrown in there. That was the Ultimate Fighter when those guys, or Bino was on the card. That was the Giga fight where they just threw a couple of those fights on the card. And Gilmore was by far the worst guy to fight on that card. He should not be in the UFC. He is not UFC level talent. And Brahmaj, I think he can get a takedown easily. I think it comes in the first round. And on the mat, it's night and day. I mean, he's going to style on Gilmore when it's down there. There's no reason, he has 9 submission wins for a reason. He has 9 wins, all of them by submission. I think it's going to be the same thing as we saw 2 fights ago against Sasha Palatnikov. He got it to the mat, and it was just game over once he got it to the mat. Yeah, I'm a little biased, I guess, because I thought I had a lot of money in Brahmaj before. It's more of a fade Gilmore, and no way I can jump off now. All Gilmore's losses, or 3 of Gilmore's 4 losses, have come by submission too. So, yeah, if Gilmore wins, it's going to go to the late second. It's going to go to the 3rd round. Brahmaj is going to be gas, and Gilmore have a way to start taking over then. But I think it's first round. Unfortunately, the submission prop, Brahmaj by first round, all that stuff has already been juiced throughout the week. So you just feel bad betting it now when you miss the best of all the lines. So betting wise, you probably don't have to go there. DFS wise, I think it's a first round submission win. So you have to have interest. And Islam Makhachev, he's going to be so chalky this week. There's other people in the upper tier that are supposed to finish. Brahmaj isn't going to be as popular as you think. Obviously, he's going to get some ownership,
right.
But it's not going to be he's going to be 50% or something like that, just because the nature of the slate. So yeah, give me Brahmaj. If he loses this one, man, I hope he gets cut, because he's going to be right there with Al Hassan as the guy that's costing me the most money.
You do wonder, sometimes you look at the matchmaking that the UFC has to maybe guide you a little bit, and you could at least tell yourself a story here. Maybe the UFC has had high hopes for Brahmaj, and maybe they still do, coming off a loss. They want to keep him around, and so they give him the worst guy on the roster, right? Go get a first round submission,
Well,
and then
he actually got this call on short notice. Gilmore, which is the easiest short notice fight you can have. He got this fight. Gilmore was supposed to fight Johnny Parsons, and Parsons was a -300 favorite in that one. And now Brahmaj is
you dunked my theory pretty quickly. I'll say that.
Yeah, but I do think that theory holds water at
I do too. Like, why give Brahmaj a call instead of someone else? Like, I agree with what you're saying, because like this is the fight to get him back on track. But I did want to mention that because it is relatively short notice, which is always a concern with this gas tank.
If Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard like a fighter, they are going to try to sugar show their way for as long as they can until they don't have to.
Yeah, no question. It does seem like this could be a little bit of a theory here. You look at the big line. You can get Brahmaj in round 1 plus 190, it looks like, is the best line I see on best fight odds right now. So, yeah, maybe you want to take a stab there. Sounds like, Tyler, you have more interest in DFS than maybe I thought you would. I mean, if you get a first-round submission, probably going to score pretty well, right? You're going to get some.
He'll take any first-round win. If somehow a first-round win is not on the optimal, there's only so much.
So be it. Yeah, I hear you. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one. We'll see if Brahmaj can get the job done early. Next fight on the card here is Alejandro Perez and Jonathan Martinez. Martinez -265. So rather big favorite. We'll go to your title first on this one. Martinez, Perez, what do you see?
Jonathan Martinez, if you've been following me for a while, you know I like Jonathan Martinez. I haven't bet against him at all, and he's looked very good in almost all of his fights except that Davey Grant fight where he got caught in the second round. I thought he was winning the first round. But, man, I mean, he didn't just get caught, and it's like something that you just won't forget. Like, he got knocked out by Davey Grant as a big favor. Like, that was hurtful. You don't like to see that, but went right back to him. Like, I just think this guy's striking is really, really good. He mixes it up well, his kicks. His takedown defense is checked out, which was a little concern last fight, but he stuffed the takedowns against a good wrestler and picked him apart at distance. Alejandro Perez, I mean, what interesting story with him. He took a long time off. He fought last fight against a 44-year-old. He lost the first round. That's how it usually goes, though. In the second round, he came back. He got the win. It wasn't really impressed. I think Jonathan Martinez is better pretty much everywhere this fight goes. I think he can keep it on the feet. I think if he does get taken down, he can get up. And I just think it's all Jonathan Martinez at range. So I have him winning. The decision, like inside the distance, that's where it gets tough. But for DFS wise, he's 8,800. I don't think he's going to be very popular because we just went through Brahmaj, Islam Makhachev. We're going to get to some other fighters, the upper tier, that have better finishing odds. So I think he can get overlooked. If it goes to decision, he's probably not going to be optimal. But I think he has finishing upside. I really like this guy striking. And if it's on the feet for 15 minutes, I think he can find a finish. So I'm going to be overweight, expecting him to come in under-owned. And I'm confident he gets the win, and I won't really have any Perez.
Yeah, this one does look like one, at least on paper, that should stay on the feet. Neither fighter has much of a history of getting takedowns less than 1 per 15 minutes, and both have displayed some decent takedown defense in the past as well, at least by the numbers they have. Keg, for your thoughts here, Martinez and Perez from a betting perspective.
Yeah, I think this is Perez's second fight off the long layoff. I know that he submitted Eduardo last time out. I think that Alejandro Perez is a strong kid. I think he's got fast hands. He swings hard. He loves to brawl with those overhands. And he targets the body often, way more than I wish other people hit the body as often. Plus, he's really underrated with his grappling, and he's got solid takedown defense, which is about 70%. Now, Jonathan Martinez, I agree with everything Title said. He's a dangerous fighter. He is phenomenal at range. He has brutal leg kicks and step-in knees, and he knows exactly how to use his reach all the time. Sits on his punches. He's got that active lead hand, and his left hand is always loaded, and he's not afraid to rip with it. And I thought that he bounced back well from the knockout loss to Grant. He hung like over 90 significant strikes, I think, in his last fight. Plus, he's got 5 inches of reach on Perez, and he could stuff takedowns if you need him to. It feels like Martinez all day. Now, I think that you could use him like in 2-fighter parlays. He's low enough to try to get somebody else at even money, but you're not going to bet him on the money line, right? So the question is, like, I think he has an equal chance to finish this by KO as decision. So I think it's really hard to hone in on one method of victory for this Martinez fight. What do you think, Title?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Like, I would lean the TKO prop because, yeah, you're looking at it. Martinez by decision plus 120 on DraftKings. You could get better numbers a little elsewhere. But his TKO prop, plus 215, plus 270 on FanDuel, actually. So, yeah, I mean, I think Martinez is a lot more live for a finish than what the betting odds are suggesting. So that's how I would approach it.
Although I think probably the more likely path is probably decision.
Yeah, both are plus 120. Like,
right.
I would take the decision, but the plus 270 to plus 135, like, it's not a, yeah. So we're on the same page there.
So you shoot your shot with one of those, probably the KO for value or decision for most likely, or you could throw in a 2-fighter parlay to get somebody else down to even money that you're looking towards, like a Josiani Nunes, somebody like that. But that's all I got.
I will say too, Martinez has been getting some steam in the past couple of days. Like, it was minus 220, it's down to minus 275 on DraftKings. So yeah, it's really hard to bet it like that. You kind of pick in the path, which is tough, but KO would be KO plus 275 would be my favorite look. Getting a minus 275 favorite to plus 275, like, you take that.
Yep.
Perfect. So that's Martinez Perez. We'll move to the next fight. Exciting one here. Exciting prospect, I think, in Terrence McKinney coming off a very early KO win in his last fight. He'll fight Faraz Ziam, who has won his last two, both decisions, and really kind of low output decisions, very low scores for a winning fighter from a DFS perspective. Title 67 and 46 points. 46 as a winner is tough to do. 39 significant strikes and 0 takedowns or any other points with the decision win. But this fight is relatively, basically a coin flip from the odds makers. Ziam actually a little bit of a favorite, which surprised me to some degree. I'll be honest. Must be missing something because McKinney looks pretty legit to me. He must have some holes in his game. I'm not sure what they are, but hey, that's why you're here, Title. So tell me about McKinney and Ziam. What am I missing here with these two guys?
No, I mean, I really don't think you're missing too much. Like, McKinney doesn't really have that many holes in his game. Yeah. I will say though, Ziam, like, his striking at range, he is a kickboxer. This man can strike, and he is very lethal at range. So if this fight is fought at a kickboxing range, like, Ziam is the rightful favorite. He is the better striker at range, and that's saying a lot. I'll go back to it. We're talking about Ziam's last two fights and how poorly he has scored. Well, I had him losing to Jamie Malarkey in that first fight, so I didn't even think he should have won to even got up to there. And then that second fight against Luigi Vendramini, the first 2 rounds, he was just staying at range. He was picking them apart. But in the third round, I mean, he almost got finished. He was getting dominated. So he just didn't accrue any points in the third round of that fight. So I guess those numbers, that's the explanation of why those numbers are so low. If Ziam wins this fight, you'd expect that it's going to be a big score because Terrence McKinney he isn't in boring fights. The guy is out there with one purpose, and that's to go and kill the other dude and finish the fight as fast as possible. He's 11-3, all 11 wins, 5 by KO, 6 by submission. His 3 losses, 2 by KO, 1 by submission. He hasn't seen the judges' scorecards, and you got to love a fighter like that. He came in, he made his UFC debut on short notice. We were all over him as a dog against Matt Frivola. Yeah, you didn't picture a 7-second knockout, 1-2 right up the middle. That just shows this guy's power too. And he's not even a primary striker. Like, it's what it's seeming like to the public right now. This man can wrestle. He wrestled in high school. He has a wrestling background. I think that's the easiest path to victory. Close the distance. If you catch him with the overhand or something, perfect. Otherwise, you take him down. And we've seen Ziam controlled on his back like he has against Malarkey. Vendramini has some success after he hurt him in round 1. I think McKinney just has more paths to victory, kind of like that Carlos Hernandez Altamirano fight. On the feet, it's close. At distance, it's Ziam, but the power is definitely toward McKinney. And then McKinney, if he mixes in the wrestling, I think he can have success. He has more submissions than KOs. I think people are just looking at it, that knockout right away, thinking he's just a striker. This man is really well-rounded, so I'm with you. I mean, he's a slight dog. I would have the line reversed personally, since I think he has more paths to victory. And I like what I see from Terrence McKinney. But regardless, McKinney's never seen the judges. This fight's not supposed to see the judges. I think Ziam has big upside in a win if he does. But I'm on Terrence McKinney in this one too. He's my pick.
Yeah. Salaries from a DFS perspective, McKinney 7,800, Ziam 8,400. I like that 7,800. I assume he'll be popular. Other people are going to see, saw that spectacular knockout. And I've never seen, honestly, like a record of early finishes quite like I see with McKinney. His last 4 fights, all won by KO. And yes, 3 of these were outside of the UFC, but 16 seconds, 17 seconds a head kick, a minute 12, and 7 seconds in his he's fought like a total of less than 2 minutes in 4 fights, all winning by KO. I mean, it's just, and even before that, he lost 2 fights in a row. Those are both early. His whole career has just been
and those losses, Sean Woodson, Derek Minner, like we know all those 2 guys, and that Sean Woodson fight, I mean, he looked so good recently, but McKinney was winning round 1. He was having success. People mention like the one problem, a little concern is the gas tank with McKinney. And yeah, I mean, he just doesn't get outside the first round and second round very often at all. So there are some unknowns. I'm a little worried about that. But like for Ziam, his gas tank didn't look very good in round 3 last time too. So I'm not putting too much stock into that, but it is a little concern. I see that.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting that they didn't get McKinney back in there sooner. Last spot on.
Well, because he did that flip off the cage or something and hurt his knee right after that Pergola fight.
That's right.
This fight's been rebooked, I think, more.
And this fight's been rebooked. It was supposed to be like 2 months ago, and then now is rebooked to now. But he hasn't fought because he hurt himself right after that.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Keg, your thoughts on these 2 guys, Ziam and McKinney?
Yeah, I think that this is a really sneaky, hard fight to call.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I basically agree with everything the both of you guys just said. I think McKinney, he's a first-round monster. He's got unreal power. Title's right. Nobody really talks about his ground game at all, but it's solid. The biggest handicapping challenge with this kid is there's not a lot of tape to see.
Yeah.
You're just betting on the no. Yeah.
Because everything ends so soon that I mean, he looked good in that round 1, even the round 1 of that Contender Series match. It looked like he was going to get the finish. He ends up getting knocked out in round 2. I don't know if that means that he has chin concerns. It could. I don't know. But, I do think that he's way more well-rounded than the public gives him credit for, because all they see is that power. And on the other side, Title's right. Ziam's really underrated range striker. He's a point fighter, super light on his feet. He likes to skirt the outside of the cage. He's always moving behind that long jab, and he walks you into shots with this footwork constantly. I didn't really think about his gas tank. Title said it's not the greatest. That's true. I didn't really think about that. I agree with you guys. I think if you can get Terrence McKinney at basically even money, it's hard to not take the shot. But I don't think that people that bet him should go into it thinking that this is an automatic W, because I think that Ziam he's legit. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
But I lean McKinney at even money. Yeah. I mean,
McKinney's sitting there to win in round 1 at plus 350 on DraftKings right now. Like, I know it's not, everything that happened in the past this is going to happen, but literally all his wins have been in round 1. So I don't know, plus 350. I'll take it. I'll take a little.
And you feel better knowing like the guy's gonna come out trying to get it done in round 1. Like that's his objective. Some people are fine taking their time. Like he's out there to kill in round one.
Clearly.
That's just who he is.
I mean, you gotta put some respect on the track record at some point. And when it's like every single fight is in round one, I'll bet that the next one happens in round one too. Maybe the fish bet, but hey, I'll go down with the ship on that one. So excited to see. Could be a quick one. McKinney and Ziam. Don't go get a new beer. At the beginning of that fight, you want to in your seat and watching, because if history is any indication, could be a rather quick fight. We go from that one to a fight in the women's division. It's Ramona Pasquale and Josiane Nunes. Both of these fighters, interestingly, especially for women's fighters who obviously go to decision more often, I think coming off round one wins. Pasquale, outside of the UFC, she had a pretty good finish. And then Nunes had a big left hand that dropped. I forget the name of the fighter she was against, but an impressive win. Yeah, an impressive win there. She's small. Nunes is. That's the first thing that I would kind of bring up about her. 5'2", going up against a 5'7" fighter. Big difference there. But I do expect these fighters to throw. Nunes was throwing heavy volume in that first fight. Pasquale looks like she's probably willing to throw down as well. So, at least on paper, I could see a kind of a brawl breaking out here, which you often see. Not necessarily predicting an early finish, but Title, interested to hear what you anticipate between Nunes and Pasquale in terms of the odds. Nunes sitting right around -200 to -220.
Yeah, I mean, it's not often you see a woman's featherweight fight that's -250 to end inside the distance. And not even talking about the fact that, Nunes is 5'3", 5'2". Like, it depends on what site you look at. And she's -125 to inside the distance. And that's
I'm taking by the way, I'm betting the goes to the decision. If I can get plus 180
it's crazy.
125 women's fighters, I'm sorry, but
no, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So Nunes, she throws power. She's 5'3". She knocked out a big girl in Bia Malecki. If you look at her record, she's 8-1. 7 of those wins are by KO. You just don't see that. I don't know. It's really hard. Like, -125 to finish. Like,
she's got legitimate knockout
power.
See, that left she landed was impressive, but it was also like the most horribly defended. Like, it.
I will say, like, no, it was. I mean, it's low level. Like, this is her opponent's even worse now, I think, than Bia Malecki is. But I will say, I'm always upfront. I'm always honest about it. This Pasquale girl, like, I wasn't able to find a lot of tape on her, a lot of anything on her, really. This is her UFC debut. She is taking it on short notice. You look at her record, 6-2. She hasn't really fought good people, though. I'm hoping she makes improvements. I saw a fight from a couple of years back where she didn't look good at all. She has to have made improvements. The one thing I do like seeing is she's out of Syndicate MMA, good gym to train at. So I like seeing that, but I really just don't know what to expect of Pasquale. So I'm going to pick Nunes. She has a lot of power. I think she can walk forward. I don't see Pasquale just taking it to the mat and controlling her. So there's no reason I'm going to would pick against Nunes when she knocked out someone way bigger than her, way better that I think than Pasquale. Like, Bia Malecki would be a favorite against Pasquale, and a pretty decent size one too. So MMA math, that's not how I like to do stuff. I just really don't know too much about Pasquale. So I'm hoping the Keg can talk to me if he finds some stuff about her. But Nunes -125 to finish. Like, you have to have some interest in DFS. You just don't see that. But I want to hear what Keg says.
Yeah, I did watch Pasquale's last fight, and the person she was up against, the woman she was up against,
awful.
I don't know where they find these people, but she wasn't the most impressive.
I mean, if you look at it, like that girl that she fought was 2-1 in the 2-1 pro record. The other girl she beat 0-2 pro record, 5-8 pro record.
Yeah.
Look at the next 0-1. Like, she's getting handfelt people that, like, school teachers that you just pull off the street.
That's what I was gonna say. She looks like she was built like I could go to like the local Walmart and grab the average like 25-year-old girl, and that's like who she's fighting with. Keg, your thoughts here? I think you're muted, Keg.
Sorry, that's amateur hour.
I do that all the time.
So my first question title is, you said that this was a featherweight fight, but Google's got it as a bantamweight fight. Is it featherweight?
I got it 140. What Tapology? I was looking at Tapology.
I'm seeing 135.
I saw 145. Let's see. I might be wrong though.
I thought it was 135.
Let's see. I always go.
I think it's 135.
Tapology still is at 145. So I'll look into that. I always go based off of Tapology. So I could be wrong on that though.
I think that I like this girl, Josiane Nunes, man. She's got real, legitimate, nasty power. She walks her opponents down. Everything that girl throws is with horrific intention. She's got hard inside leg kicks to keep people off balance when she's looking to go to the head. And she's got fast hands and a big overhand left. And she is one of the only people, I think, in this division that has real game-changing power with one punch. Now,
she's gonna be the only 5'3" girl in the history to have one knockout. But I will say, weigh-in said it's 145 too. I'm seeing them both weigh in on MMA Junkie, which obviously is really good. Nunes weighed 145.5, Pasquale 146.
Oh wow! So Google's wrong.
Yeah, I tap out. Yeah, I would tap out.
That's probably right.
Always done me good. So that's confirmed though what they weighed in at this morning.
All right, so I think that she has to work on her cardio more though, because she exhausts herself due to the fact that she throws so hard. But I think that this chick is going to be a problem. I couldn't find a ton on Ramona Pasquale. I know she's out of Syndicate MMA. In the little tape that I saw, she always keeps her hands real low. She throws a ton of kicks. Her body lock takedown is okay. Her trip takedown is okay. She's coming off a TKO win over a girl that was 2-0, who stepped up on short notice, up 2 weight classes. So, I mean, this girl's going to get hurt, in my opinion, bad. So
I'm glad you said that.
I think
I'm with you.
And that's been the issue with this Ramona girl. The level of competition has been so awful, and she has a good chance of getting hurt. Now, you could take the chance that this goes the distance, because Josiane Nunes is plus a nickel by decision, which, considering how big of a favorite she should be, that's a great price to take her by decision.
Yeah.
But I lean that she is going to find a way to knock this girl out inside of 3 rounds. The problem is there are some places you could find her at TKO for like -110. It's really hard to take a chick by knockout at -110.
I mean,
plus 100 on FanDuel is the best, by the way.
Like even money. Now, 7 of her 8 wins are by knockout. She's clearly different. She clearly has heavy hands. So I do think that this is probably going to happen. But from a value standpoint, the plus 500 by decision, or you could try to thread the needle. The over 1.5 rounds is only -140 in a low-level women's MMA fight. That's usually over 2.5 -250. And tomorrow it's over 1.5 -$1.40. So you could try to take the over 1.5 rounds and Josiane Nunes by knockout and hope that it happens in the second half of the fight. Or you could just take the over, or you could just take her by decision. I'm probably going to take both. I'm going to take her by decision plus 500 and just hope that this girl could survive. And I'm going to back myself up with her by knockout at even money. So if she knocks her out, I break even. If she wins the first 2 rounds and gasses out really bad, then we're sitting pretty at 5-1.
Yeah, I mean, she was gassing out at the end of in the first round in that last fight, like you mentioned, Keg.
Yeah.
And when you gas, the power is going to go, right? And so if that happens, again, smaller, or I guess not super small, but women's fighters, I mean, you could easily see this thing kind of limping home to the finish, right? Nunes hurts her, but can't quite finish, and then it just kind of fizzles out. Plus 500 for a decision for a fighter that's a -215. Like it's just too big a number. So I'm going to bet
I agree with you. The only thing you're worried about is she's an overwhelming favorite in the first round to knock her out. But if you can get through the first round, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're sitting good.
It's plus 5. There's just no way. Plus, you tell me they run this fight back 5 times. It doesn't happen one time that she wins by a decision. It just has to. So
I mean, if Francis and Cyril Gahn can go to decision, this fight can go to decision.
That's what I'm saying. So from a DFS perspective, how much Nunes do you think you're going to end up with?
That's the thing. Like if she's going to come in at 35% and Jonathan Martinez is less than 25%, or Brahmaj is right there at 35% too. Like I like Brahmaj more. I would take the ownership discount in Jonathan Martinez, but like you just can't ignore the minus 125 to finish inside the distance from her. I'll probably if she's 35 in my 150, I could see myself at like 27% or something like that. Because I want more Brahmaj. I'm going to, of course, have Islam, Jonathan Martinez. Like we're going to get next fight, Mendez, stuff like that. So probably if she's 35%, I'll probably come in slightly underweight. You saying you think decision. And yeah, she's 5'3" at the end of the day. Like she's 5'3". Like I don't how many knockouts
I don't necessarily think decision. It just doesn't the number is too big.
No, I know what you're saying, but she's going to be popular, and I like the upper tier a lot. So of course I'm going to have her, but I'm not going to have like 50% or anything like that.
Yeah, that all makes sense. Interesting fight there. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'll be rooting for a decision over here, at least from a betting perspective.
Who broke down that low-level women's MMA fight as well as us?
Yeah, these free shows. We're gonna break down fights that are like, wow.
We'll be completely wrong, and it'll be like a wrestling battle or something.
Yeah. Hey, that's gonna happen. Doing these shows every week. If you guys listen to this every week, we're gonna get fights wrong and wrong bad. That's part of MMA.
Yeah. And you could miss bad in MMA for sure.
Oh,
That's part of what makes it so fun, honestly. We'll move on though for now to the next fight. Ignacio Mendez going to fight Rong Zhu. Title, you said Zhu missed the weight by 4 or 5 pounds. This is supposed to be a 155. They weighed in at 159 or 160. You said so. That's an interesting angle. Interested to hear your guys' thoughts on that. From a betting perspective, right now. Markets do have Mendez, a pretty big favorite, minus 225 or so. Zhang has been, I've been a little bit impressed. Pretty good wrestling, kind of a decent all-around fighter. I was kind of interested as the dog here on Zhu Rong, but the weight cut miss does worry me to some degree for sure. And just looking at kind of the weigh-in photos, he's like the smaller fighter anyway, giving up a couple inches. Now, despite missing weight, he looks like the smaller fighter. So I'm not quite sure what to think about that. Title, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, this one is tough. So for as far as the weight miss at 160, I'm not taking too much into consideration. I always mention if there is a weight miss. Some weight misses I like for the people that miss weight because they didn't try it all. If you want to stuff takedowns, it's harder, stuff like that. And for this, I mean, this honestly could help him. I mean, 160, Nunes is the much longer fighter. He's very good at range. Zhang Ru, I mean, this guy's striking isn't bad. He has power. Rong Zhu does. He's only 21 years old. He's training on American Top Team. All of that you love to see. He has a pro record of 18-4, 22 pro fights as a 21-year-old. Like, you don't see that often. Now, you go through the record, we can say, like, similar to the last fight, a lot of those guys are bums for sure. But still, he's in there. He's getting the job done, getting some confidence. Yeah, I mean, he's 1-1 in the UFC. Both of these guys are. Both these guys lost their debuts. They rebounded with big wins. Zhang Ru got the 3rd round finish over Brandon Jenkins. He went to the takedowns. Like you said, his wrestling is definitely his best part of the game. He had 3 takedowns in his first fight. He had 6 takedowns in his second fight. That's his path to victory in this one. Mendez, he answered a lot of questions in his last fight. He stuffed 12 takedowns from Roosevelt Roberts. He kept it on the feet. And on the feet, this guy is a very, very dangerous striker. He mixes up the kicks really well. He had one of the best knockouts of the year. I mean, 3rd round, 5 seconds left, the spinning wheel kick. I mean, you just can't paint a better picture. The guy has serious striking credentials. So on the feet, it's Mendez all day for me. And that's not saying Ru's a bad striker. Mendez is that good. But there's a path for Zhang Ru. And we can see that because Mendez, like if you just look at DraftKings, minus 265. You open up on DraftKings Sportsbook. It's down to minus 195 right now. And I agree with it. Like minus 200 probably seems about right. It's a clear clash of styles. Like I'm not saying Mendez has bad takedown defense because he doesn't, or Zongru has bad striking, but Mendez striking is way better. On the mat, give me Zongru all day. His wrestling looks pretty good. So yeah, I have interest in Mendez. I think he can get the knockout. I have interest in Zongru. I think he has a big path to big upside, and I don't expect too many people to play him at 7,200. So yeah, it's going to be a fun fight. My pick is Mendez. I was really, really impressed at what he did last fight. The striking is legit, and the takedown defense looks to check out. But I'm not just going to say this guy's takedown defense and his get up game is like 100% after one fight. You know what I'm saying? Like I think there's a live dog here, so I'll have to have some interest at 7,200. Good fight though.
Mendez, impressive striking. You know, as I mentioned, I think a 5 or 6 inch height advantage, 4 inch reach advantage, a lot of volume from Mendez. 7.5 strikes landed per 15 minute or per minute rather. And with the reach advantage, with the height advantage, you can see a scenario where he's able to stay kind of on the perimeter, right, and just kind of pick apart Zhurong. So that's an interesting angle to me. I think plus 270 for Mendez to win by knockout on FanDuel, I believe right now. Seems like a bit of a spicy line to me. If you want to take a shot on that, Keg, you're the expert. Your thoughts here from a betting perspective. We got mute again, Keg.
Two in a row though. I don't know if I've done that one.
Third strike, you're out.
Can you imagine though? All right, so like I was just going to say, I agree with Title. I like Mendez a lot. I like most guys that train out of Valley Flow with Bilal Muhammad, and he's no different. He's tall, he's long, he's got wicked striking, he's really light on his feet, he switches stances, he's always on that front foot. He attacks the low calf, which seems to be the thing nowadays in the UFC. And he's got defensively, he's got nice head movement. He pulls counters. And he always mixes kicks to the body and head, which is great. And he works the body a ton. So, and he's really durable. On the other side, you know, Rong walks his opponents down, hard body kicks, but he is low volume, man. He falls into this trap of always looking for the kill shot when he's striking with the big overhand right. And that's a problem. But he rides the body lock well when he's looking for takedowns. I know that he dropped the UFC debut to Vargas, but he looked good against the short notice replacement last time out against Brandon Jenkins. I think that this kid has a ton of experience for how young he is. And that usually means that we're going to see huge improvements from fight to fight around this age. But what worries me here for Rong is missing weight by 4 pounds at 21 years old is not a good look. And this is a big step up in class for him compared to the level of competition that he's fought, in my opinion. And I'm not sure he's ready for it. So I like Mendez. But like Title said, this line opened minus 270. It's continued to drop. Even this morning dropped another 10 cents. I'm going to wait. And if this line continues to drop, I'll probably have a piece of Mendez tomorrow night. But at the current price right now where he's at, which is around like minus 190, I think that's still a little bit too expensive. But if it continues and he gets down to minus 160 tomorrow, I would not be afraid to throw a half unit on Mendez.
Do you typically see, like, you've obviously seen the kind of the steam on Zhurong here. Does that usually continue up to fight time, or does it ever reverse?
Usually there's buyback, but like in the hours leading up to the fight, you're going to get some buyback to the guy that lost, to the guy that gained so much value. But you know, it's all fight dependent.
So you're obviously watching the numbers and you're trying to guess when you can get the best number if you want that little piece of bottom, obviously, because you know it's, you know, sports betting, of course, picking winners is important, but getting the right numbers is just as big a part of it, if not more. I'm sure you'd say the same thing. So yeah, if you do want Mendez, maybe wait till, I don't know, what, 4 or 5 hours before the fight, see if it moves, and then jump on somewhere around there. Sounds like that could be a decent strategy. So that's Mendez and Rong. We'll move to the next fight, Armen Petrosyan and Gregory Rodriguez. Rodriguez, pretty big favorite here, not a huge favorite, I guess, minus 160, minus 170-ish. Title will go right to you for this one. Petrosyan, Rodriguez, what do you see here?
Yeah, another line. Gregory Rodriguez opened up as a minus 200 favorite, now sitting at like minus 155. And it just makes sense. I mean, this fight's minus 450 to end inside the distance. Like, in a fight that pretty much we know is going to finish, it makes sense why the odds getting a little closer. On the feet, this is a really, really good fight, and both guys can finish it at any time. Gregory Rodriguez, I love what I see from him. He's ripped for the division. He has good volume. He has a lot of power in his hands. And then as far as Petrosyan, he's making his UFC debut, coming off a Contender Series first-round knockout. He has a 6-1 pro record. This man can strike. This man is dangerous. When it's on the feet, both of these guys can go down at any single time, and you just cannot look away. The big difference, though, as we talked about in some of these previous fights, one guy can get the takedown and have success, and I just don't see the other one doing it. And that's why I think Gregory Rodriguez is a favorite. We saw him. We haven't seen him go to his takedowns too much and his grappling too much. This guy's a legit black belt in BJJ, though. We saw him take Parks back. In his last fight, he had some success on the mat. And man, like I just haven't seen it from Petrosyan on the mat. He kind of looks lost. It doesn't look like he has really good takedown defense. So on the feet, coin flip. Whoever connects first is getting knocked out. If Gregory Rodriguez is smart, he gets the takedown early. I think he absolutely styles on him on the mat, and he probably finds a submission win, maybe ground and pound, flattens him out, something like that. So my pick is Rodriguez since he has more paths to victory. But man, you got to have a lot of exposure to this fight. 8,500, 7,700, minus 450 to end inside the distance. Rodriguez my pick since I do think he goes to the takedowns. I think he styles on him with his grappling. Fits on the feet though. Man, maybe I'd even lean Petrosyan on the feet. Like, this kid's that good. It's going to be a lot of fun there.
Yeah, I definitely lean Petrosyan on the feet title.
What would you cap it at? Like minus 150 for him if it was just on the feet?
Yeah, probably somewhere around there. Yeah, but I agree with everything, literally everything that came out of your mouth. Although I do lean towards Petrosyan. I still think that there's a little meat on the bone, even I know you're not going to get that plus 165 at open, but at plus 135, I think there's a little meat on the bone there because I think that this should be closer to a coin flip. I mean, the kid is, 6-0, undefeated, all 6 wins by knockout, right? I know he's making his UFC debut, but he trains at American Top Team. I think he's got solid kicks. He's got great clinch knees. He's really solid in the clinch in general. And he's got fast hands, man. And he throws everything to end the fight. I agree with what you said about him on the ground, but he does always show an extreme sense of urgency to get off the mat. He might get taken down there, but he's constantly trying to get up and to get back to his feet. I don't know. I'm gonna lean with the dog here, even though you lost a little bit of value. I think there's still a little meat on the bone at plus 135 because I really think this should be a coin flip fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, Petrosyan by KO, TKO is plus 200. I don't mind, get a little odds boost there if you want to go that direction. Sounds like, we think that's his path to victory, right? Is to knock him out. So I don't hate that.
All 6 wins by knockout. Yep.
Yeah, so you could go that direction. I think this is maybe the fight on the card that I'm looking forward to the most. So interested to see how this one goes down.
The next fight, DC.
What's that?
You move that fight to second. The next fight should be the one you're looking forward to most.
Okay. You can convince me. But yeah, should be a good one between Rodriguez and Petrosyan. Again, big favorite to finish inside the distance title. I assume you'll have probably close to 100%. Yeah, one fighter or the other, but you'll split probably.
Yeah. So on 150, I never really lock it. We know you can get a knockout with a minute 40 seconds in and stuff like that. So I probably won't go 100% in 150. In 20 entry and below, though, I assume I will have at least one of each fighter, or make a rule for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the next fight, yeah, you're right. This is maybe the better one, but two great fights here to kind of start off the main card, if you will. So I'm looking forward to this one as well. Joel Alvarez and Arman Sarkurian gonna do battle here. Another fight that should be frankly full of fireworks. We'll go to you, Keg, first from a betting perspective on this one. I will say the first thing I noticed, man, Alvarez absolutely towering over Sarukian from a height perspective. Again, I do expect fireworks here. But yeah, we'll throw it to you, Keg. What do you see here from a betting perspective?
This was the one fight on the card that I wanted to talk to you guys about because, man, I think it's a really interesting fight that can go so many different ways. And you're right, Alvarez is tall. He looks like an alien. Like if you told me that's what an alien looked like, I'd be like, okay. Now we know what Sarukian is. He's been a hot prospect for a while. He turned into a stud. He's your typical Russian grinder that has incredible wrestling chops. His only loss in the UFC was his debut against Islam Makhachev, who was going to be the champion at some point at 155 pounds. And he's always measured in his approach. I think that his striking is solid, not great. I think he sits behind a solid jab. He's got a wide stance and a really powerful lead hook that's there to set up that relentless wrestling game that he falls back on with the wicked ground and pound. So his style is really straightforward, but it's very hard to beat. But you have to love a guy that is consistently trying to fight dirty in front of a referee. He'll grab your gloves. He'll grab your dick. He'll grab the fence. He's always trying to get over, right? And then Alvarez, who he did miss weight in his last fight because he's massive for 155 pounds, but it sounds like he made weight today, which is a good sign. He used to like to play like, BJJ off his back a lot. But lately he's been staying on his feet more. He's got, he's super long. He's much more aggressive than I think Sarukian is from a striking perspective. I don't know. I'm so torn on this fight. Title, what do you think? You taking the dog here?
Yeah, I mean, everything you said, I 100% agree with. But when you look at the odds, like you're giving me a pretty big dog and adding plus 180 in Joel Alvarez when he is the better striker. He's the much bigger fighter. And on the mat, like even Sarukian, I mean, his wrestling is as good as it gets, obviously.
Yeah, but Alvarez is like not afraid to get taken down, right?
Exactly, which that can go both ways, though. Like Sarukian's going to have to mind his P's and Q's at all seconds, which makes it really scary. But when you're giving me plus 180, like if you watch what this guy did to Thiago Moises last fight on the feet, like he looked like one of the best strikers at lightweight. Like it was the most drastic change I've ever seen. Then you go and you look at his record and he's 19-2 with 16 submission wins. And the three other ones are knockouts. Like he invites people to take him down. That's why his takedown defense sucks. He can grab a neck. He's really got good off his back. So Alvarez is just, I mean, so much bigger, so much longer, the striking advantage, all this stuff. Yeah, it's a dog or pass for me. Yeah. It's really hard to say because, I mean, Sarukian, when you fight Islam Makhachev in your first fight, like people have touted him for a long, long time. He's really good. His wrestling, if he gets the takedowns, he stays safe for 15 minutes, he'll win a decision. But that is a lot easier said than done. Joel Alvarez is dangerous, man.
These fighters like Alvarez who have, like you said, Keg, he looks like an alien, super long limbs.
Yep.
He's like 170. He's going to be much, way more than Sarukian on the walk. Like
incredible.
Who do you like, DC?
He likes Alvarez too.
Yeah, I mean, he's an incredible athlete. Most of his wins are by submission, which off of his back, which is like, so he's kind of got like it seems to me, I see what you're saying, Title, where it's like, oh, was he just going to allow to get taken down? And
you hope not.
And then he gets grinded out. So I could see that, but these fighters that have dangerous jiu-jitsu games, can threaten submissions, long limbs, he's going to be able to stay on the outside of this fight anyway. I mean, Sarukian's going to have to come through some serious firepower to get this fight to the mat if he's able to do it at all. If he's not, Sarukian is toast, right? I just see so many ways that Alvarez can win this fight that I'll take the plus number. I just, yeah.
I agree. If this was a coin flip fight, I think I would be on Cirkunov for sure.
Me too. That's kind of how I'm seeing it too. Like, just because the safety. Yeah.
I agree.
I'm a sucker for these kind of uber athlete type dudes for sure, and especially at a plus number. So it's almost like the line almost feels a little fishy to me, right? Where it's like yep, he's just going to grind him out, but we'll see. I mean, on DraftKings title, plus 7,100 for Alvarez, like I got to get a piece of that. I assume he's going to be a popular fighter. He should be, I think, at that price point. If he pulls
not
up,
going to be as popular as you think.
Yeah,
but he'll have some ownership. I mean, Cirkunov, this line opened. Cirkunov was a minus 335 favorite when this line opened, which I'm not surprised with.
Yeah, that makes me feel a little better.
You know why? Because you could see this fight being one of those like fights you really get frustrated in when you bet the UFC, where you have the striker that is taken down 10 seconds into the fight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's good. If Cirkunov wins, he's probably going to look like a minus 600. Like,
yeah, you're absolutely right. You're like 11 minutes of control time.
Yes.
I'm going to get messages in the Discord. How did you get me on this bum?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the one thing that I love.
I'll be right there with you because, yeah, I'm taking Alvarez. I do think, DFS-wise, you probably want a good, if you're playing 10 lineups, I think you want one of these two in most of your lineups. Because like we said, if Cirkunov wins this fight, it's going to be takedowns, a lot of control time, ground and pound. That's how you rack up a
thing is, DC, I'll ask you right now. Nunes, Brahmaj, like Islam Makhachev, Mendez, like where are you ranking Cirkunov if you pick him to lose the fight though? Like you only can have so many, you know what I'm saying? Like
I hear it. I mean, I'm frankly going to have mostly Alvarez, but yeah. I'll have a little taste of Cirkunov on the teams that I don't have Alvarez on, just because, this is one where it's like,
takedowns control time. Like if he wins, you know exactly what you're getting.
If you're on Alvarez and Cirkunov wins this one, it's going to be an annoying 15 minutes to watch. Most likely is kind of how we think it's going to go. So we'll see. Should be a really, really fun fight to watch. I'm very high on Alvarez. Hopefully he'll come through tomorrow. Let's go to the next fight, which I don't know why this fight is closer to the.
Don't even know why one of them is even on the in the UFC anymore. But
yeah, Priscilla Cachoeira and Ji Young Kim minus 170-ish favorite. To me, not a super exciting fight here, title. So I'll make you sell this one to the people.
Yeah, I can't sell it really too much. I mean, Cachoeira shouldn't even really be in the UFC after what she did last fight against Robertson. She misses weight, tries to gouge her eyes out. Like she was just playing all the dirty stuff. Cachoeira, what she does, she walks forward, call her a zombie girl. She can eat all the shots in the world, and she has power. Like she's one of the few in the division that has one knockout power. So she's always live, but Kim has a massive 7 each reach advantage. She just spams volume. Like you're just clicking the circle button or the square button every single second. Like that's all she does. Most of them don't land at all. But when you have a 7-inch reach advantage and one of them just keeps walking forward, like Cachoeira walks into punches. Kim's going to land a lot of punches, but Cachoeira's really tough. Kim's really tough. I don't see a finish happening. Maybe Kim goes for the takedown, but we don't see either of these two really wrestle. So I'm expecting it to be on the feet. I'm expecting a decision on so many cards that have a lot of fights expected to end, a lot of good mid-tier fights. Maybe it's wrong. Big T, I wish he was on the show. I really want to know what he's going to do in this woman's fight. But I'm just not going to have too much because you can't be overweight on everyone. I like a lot of the other fights. I lean Kim with the striking, with the 7-inch reach advantage, with the more volume, but I'm not going to pretend and sell you like this is a great fight. I mean, it's a low-level fight.
Yeah. I think that the main thing you brought up that's interesting to me, especially DFS-wise, Kim throws a lot of volume, and Cachoeira eats a lot of punches. 7 strikes per minute. She's taken, that's over like a large sample size. So you put those two together.
Well,
and,
I will say that number is a little inflated because of the Valentina fight. Like,
yeah.
But still, it's still bad. It's not quite as bad as it looked, but it's still bad. But yeah, 100%. So DC, I'll ask you, 8,600 though.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she can easily have over 100 significant strikes, but Gregory Rodriguez is 100 less. McKinney, Ziam fights right there. Like, what are your thoughts on that 8,600?
I think we're unlikely to see this fight have any takedowns in it at all.
Yeah, just say it's 15 minutes on the feed. Kim throws.
So I mean, how many of the significant strikes does she need to land then to get over 100?
To get over 100 points, it would be, because each significant strike 0.5. Then you have the
like 140 or something. 130.
Go to Keg. I'll do that math for sure because I don't know at the top of my
That's
head.
the question, right? Because
for sure
we think we know how this fight's going to go. If it goes that way, right? If it does go Kim's way, then will she get there in the end? That's we're talking about picking fights, but from a DFS perspective, you got to factor in that as well, especially in tournaments when you're trying to get all the way to the top of a big tournament. So Title's busy doing math. Keg, break down this fight for me.
Yeah, I mean, so like I agree with everything that the both of you guys said about this fight, but she could easily lose too.
Yeah, I know for sure.
Like to me, I think that these are like the exact same fighter. They both have terrible defense. They both punch. They want to stand on their feet the whole time, and they both have power, I guess, for that division. And the only difference to me is one of them has a 7-inch reach advantage. But from a betting perspective, is that worth 60 cents? I don't know. I don't think it is. Like, if I'm betting this fight, I'm taking the dog at plus 140 or I'm passing, because I think that Priscilla Cachoeira has just as good of a chance to win this fight as Kim. I mean, these are bottom of the barrel fighters. So, I mean, that would be, I would assume you guys wouldn't want to be overweight in this fight one way or another, because both these girls have, I think, an equal chance of winning the fight.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the case, then Cachoeira could be decent at 7,600. Title, did you finish your back of the napkin math over there?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's so the rule significant strikes is 0.2, strikes is 0.2. So just assuming that the only strikes are counted are significant strikes, 150 significant strikes gives you 60 points. You add the 30 for decision, that's only 90. Now, again, sometimes they say 190 strikes, 150 of them are significant. You can get some more points there. But what we're trying to say is you need a lot of them. That's why I like targeting fights that I expect to finish. And like Keg said, you're not only parlaying that or like a ton of strikes, you're parlaying getting the win too. So yeah.
And even 150 significant strikes.
Then you're parlaying other fighters not doing as much as that. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. So Kim looks like probably a fade for me, and maybe you take, because Cachoeira is more likely to get there, right? If it's the same fight, but Cachoeira is the one that lands 130 strikes, whatever, but she's cheaper, so she has a better chance to.
She just throws less volume, but the knockout power is definitely in her favor. Like if there's a first round knockout, I'd expect it to be Cachoeira.
Sure.
Yeah,
makes sense, but looks like maybe potentially a fight to fade. At least the way I'm seeing it. So that's Kim, Cachoeira. 2 more fights to go. Before we get there, again, just a reminder, hit that like, hit that subscribe, join Keg's live betting package, $40 a month. And then we do have a deal with SaberSim. If you guys haven't checked out SaberSim, make sure you do so. Get a discount with us. With the Run Pure package, you'll save, I think, $20 or $30 a month if you combine the two. So check that out if you're interested in that. All right, let's get to these last 2 fights on the card. We've got Wellington Turman and Misha Cirkunov. Cirkunov, pretty much a coin flip fight here. So could go either way. Again, I kind of think the 5th and 4th fights that we like so much should be up near the top of the card, but not the way it is. This one, I'm much less excited, frankly, about this one than I am about those others that we talked about. Don't have a strong take here myself, so talk me into something, Title.
Yeah, first of all, I 100% agree with you. There's no reason that Alvarez or Sarukian fight isn't the co-main event, but I mean, we saw that Dawkins Pickett last week co-main. Like UFC's got to work on the co-main events for sure. But going to this fight, yeah, I mean, this fight is so tough to break down. 2 primary grapplers in Cirkunov and Turman. The fight's -200 and inside the distance. They're 185. They're fighting at 185 middleweight. So And you say all that stuff, like you have to have some interest for DFS wise. They're only 8,300 and 7,900. The fight's supposed to finish and take place on the mat. You have to have interest. So I do have interest in the fight. Cirkunov's been a 205er, a light heavyweight, almost his whole career. He came down last fight to 185. He just didn't look good. He looked drained on the scales. He looked pretty tired when the fight kept going on. He couldn't secure a takedown against Jocko. And his striking is just so wonky. Like, he has a little power at the end of his shots. If he connects you square, like, it's going to hurt you. But his striking isn't really good. He throws volume out there. But I give Wellington Turman the advantage on the feet. And when I say that, like, this is not a normal co-main event. It's a lower level. I'm not saying a low-level fight, but it's a lower-level fight. Like, saying Turman's a better striker, like, there's not too much confidence that goes behind that. But I do believe he is. I think he moves better on the feet a little bit. On the mat, I do give the advantage to Cirkunov. I think he's going to go for takedowns if he has success, which I do think he will be able to have some success. I think he can style on Turman on the mat. Turman's a good grappler himself for sure, but he's not a Joel Alvarez off his back that's just going to threaten with a ton of submissions and like be really live for them. I don't think. I think Cirkunov would mind his P's and Q's, stay safe on top, use his own ground and pound and own grappling. So I kind of see it as a clash of styles, even though it's not, like, Turman's not a striker and he's not a bad grappler. Like, he prefers to be on the mat. But I think in this fight, he'd be better off. Similar to the Rose Clark fight, Egger fight, as we talked about last week. Rose Clark, I thought her best way to path victory, stay at range. Don't go for the takedowns. Yeah, you go to the takedowns with a judo black belt, you're going to get tossed and then submitted. Turman, keep the fight at range. Use your striking. I think you can have success. I don't think Turman has too much success on the mat on himself for the offensive stuff. I would say Cirkunov has a better path, the more upside, take down, get the first round finish. I lean Cirkunov for those reasons, but it's not the most confident pick. But I do have interest in DFS. I mean, minus 200, mid-tier fight, supposed to be on the mat a little bit. You have to have interest.
Yeah, this is a really tough one for me to break down. Cirkunov, you mentioned coming down from light heavyweight. Didn't look good in his first fight at 185 last time out. You look at the picture on the scales, like, he looks like a way bigger guy. I think
he's way bigger. Yeah.
And then he's going to gain all that weight back, right?
Exactly.
In the 24-hour.
He'll walk out over 200.
He looks like he's up a full weight class. So that's interesting to me, especially for a guy who's primarily a wrestler, right? That could really come in handy, the strength size advantage perhaps. But not that impressive of a fighter in general, and he kind of just his picture on the scale, he looks like he's freaking tired, and the weight cut took a lot out of him.
I was on him last fight. I swear, I was watching this fight. I'm like, I'm never backing this man at 185 ever again. Like, I kept telling myself that. I kept getting so mad because it was like, like, he looked tired, like, pretty much from the get-go. Like, it was just so tilting. But he needs a takedown. If he gets a takedown, which we didn't see last fight, if he gets it now, you'll be happy with him.
Yeah, I haven't watched all Turman's fights, admittedly, but at least UFC stats have him at 100% takedown defense over 5 fights. I don't know exactly how good of wrestlers those guys were again, but maybe Keg, you can speak to it, because Title and I obviously had a
talk to us, Keg.
We're at a little bit of a loss here.
I really like Misha Cirkunov in this fight. I think that Wellington Turman is so butt cheeks, bro. I think that he is so bad. He's got a brutal.
We needed a strong take. I
was going to say the chin is the concerning, but I'm not worried about it as much this fight. Are you? Are we going to see a Cirkunov KO?
To be fair to you, I think that he's better. I think Misha's better off at 205, but I do think that he will be able to compete at 185, even though it didn't look good last time out, and he failed on all his takedowns up until that 3rd round. But I just think if he is fundamentally a better striker, he's so much better on the mat, I think, than Turman is. And I really do think that he's going to get him down. And this is either going to be a ground and pound stoppage, or Misha's going to work for a submission. That's why he's only like plus 220 by submission. I think that I'm okay with taking him minus 120 on the money line or plus 150 inside the distance. We know how bad that Turman's chin is, and he's not as good of a grappler as Misha. So I do think that Misha, if he's in position, probably will have the advantage in trying to get a submission attempt off. And it's a step up in class, believe it or not, for Wellington Turman. We're talking about a guy that like needed 2-point deductions to beat Sam Alvey.
No, he had two against him. He had two against him.
Two. I knew I had
in the third round.
Yeah,
but still, I know what you're saying. Like
right.
Yeah.
I bet him. I got him at -120. I'm on him.
Yeah, Cirkunov has scored pretty well in his wins in the UFC. So 8,300 for him as a favorite title, as you mentioned. I think pretty good DFS play there. You could go either way, but yeah, certainly lean Cirkunov at least on DraftKings. All right, let's get to the main event. One of the more lopsided lines you'll see ever in a main event. Makhachev coming in, what is he, -800, somewhere around there, against short notice Bobby Green, who is returning after just 2 weeks. Really, really impressive fight for Bobby Green. One of the most impressive of his long career, in my opinion, against Perez. 188 significant strikes landed in that one. Obviously, a massive step up in competition for Bobby Green here. I personally don't really think he's got much of a chance against, as you mentioned, probably a future champ in Makhachev, most likely. Keg, we'll go to you on this one. I'm guessing you're not laying the -800, but how are you going to approach betting this one, if at all?
Yeah, I think, first of all, props to Bobby Green for stepping in and saving
Sure,
it, But yeah, I mean, personally, I think it's Islam Makhachev by literally however he wants to do it. I just think that he's so. I did not respect Bobby Green since we started Run Pure as much as Title did. So like I was against him a lot on this most recent run of his, but he's won me over. I have to respect the way that he's fought the last 18 months. But in saying that, he is not. I mean, this kid is going to be a future champion at 155. And he's levels above him. So I would think, I just want to see what the inside the distance prop is.
-250.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so you basically have to plant your flag. I'm going to say it's going to happen by submission because that's where he's strongest and Bobby Green is the weakest. While Bobby Green has a solid wrestling base and he's a good grappler, he's not that skilled in BJJ to the point where Makhachev is levels above. So I'm going to say -110 by submission, but it could be by knockout. You never know. It could be ground and pound. But yeah, I'm going to say Makhachev by submission -110.
I like it. Tyler, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, not much really needs to be said. Bobby Green, gangster, gotta love the man. It was alive when I was there at Houston. That's when he fought Nasrat. I mean, you couldn't put on a better performance. Like, he's so fun to watch, but it's not going to be fun to watch when he's on the canvas with his back to the mat the whole round. Like, we know what Islam's going to do. He's not going to go and try and outstrike Bobby Green. Why would you do that? If you want to just, if you're one of the people that in MMA, anytime you see odds as crazy as this, -800 plus, -900 a lot of spots, and you just want to bet the other person, you're probably profitable long term. Nunes, Rousey. I mean, I don't know if that's right or not.
Shit happens, right?
Yeah, it's MMA. Like Islam's been knocked out in his life. Like it's not like he's like undefeated and all that stuff. But there's levels to this. The future champ. Yes, we've been saying this for a while. He's going to be a future champ. The one that's going to be the best fight, I think, is Charles Oliveira, just because he does have that stuff to offer off of his back, his submission game. So I really hope we do see that. But yeah, it's not much needs to be said. It's Islam by whatever.
You locking him in most of your lineups?
See, this is where we go though. Like if Brahmaj gets a first round submission win, if Nunes gets a first round KO.
I was gonna say I don't think Makhachev's a lock to get there in the end.
And he's 9,500. Like that's expensive. Like you need certain dogs to win and stuff. And he's gonna be what I have on the playbook. I have 70% owned. I'm not gonna lock a 70% owned fighter. I'm gonna have plenty, but no. I'll have some fight fades just because it's easier to you get different automatically. Not having Makhachev. We saw last week, Jamal Hill, first round knockout, right? He wasn't on the optimal as a first round knockout. We had a lot of big finishes from the upper tier, like we said. So, yeah, Makhachev's as safe as it gets. He's a walking 100-piece pretty much in MMA, but you play for the optimal. Other people in the upper tier can outscore. So I will not have 100%. I'll have plenty.
I don't think you have to take Bobby Green on the other side, right?
Not even in cash. No, not even in cash games. You don't have to. And no, tournaments definitely don't. Full fade Bobby Green in 150, just like last week. You played some Jamal Hill. The rest of those lineups, you just faded the fight. So you're overweight Hill, overweight the fades. And yeah, Johnny Walker beats you and the optimal last week. Then you lose. If Bobby Green wins this week, I'm gonna lose. I'm not gonna have any Bobby Green. I think fighting fades makes more sense than playing Bobby Green on the other side.
I do think most the 30% or whatever it is of lineups that fade Makhachev, I think most of them will have Bobby Green, right?
You think he'll be over 15%?
Yeah. 6,700, cheapest fighter on the card, just looked good, main event. I think so. And then some people will play both too. So yeah, I would say over 15%.
Always people do that.
I like when people do it like on the first fight of like a boring. It's like, what are you doing?
I like when anyone does it anytime. It's just free money for everyone.
Yeah. No, that'll work. But yeah, that'll do it. Nice hour and 20 minutes here with you fine gentlemen. I'll be back in an hour and 30 minutes with Hoop and JT talking hoops. So if you're watching this live, join us back there, and we'll have another fun weekend of sports. That will do it for us. He is Keg. He's Titletown. I'm Draftcheat. We'll check you next time.
Good luck, everybody.